Post-production funding for Making It Up North is provided by the citizens of Minnesota through the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund.
Come on, Ara, let's go. I graduated from the University of Wisconsin at Madison with a mechanical engineering degree. And right out of college, I went to work for a company, and I was an engineer for them. They sent me to Birmingham, Alabama, where I spent a few years. And then I transferred to the Panhandle of Florida, where I spent a few more years. I wouldn't trade that experience for the whole world, but it wasn't home to me. I went from living in a little apartment right on the beach on the Gulf of Mexico to now being on the other side of the country at the Canadian border at the end of this 60-mile dead-end road, and then further from that 2 miles down a river. We all want toast?
Yes, please.
I had decided to quit my job in Florida, and initially I thought I would come up and get an engineering job in Duluth right away. And my dad said, well, why, you know, it's been a really long time since you've spent a bunch of time with me. And he pulled the card, if I could have spent this time with my dad, I would have jumped at it. And so he had me.
We are at Birchwood Wilderness Camp.
Birchwood Wilderness Camp is a summer camp for boys ages 7 to 17 at the edge of the Boundary Waters Canoe Area Wilderness in northern Minnesota.
You know, this place was in, it's been in the family since '68, but the girls' camp, my parents purchased in '58. So, camping goes way back. It's in our blood. When my parents passed away, my brother became the owner of both properties, the girls' camp and the boys' camp. And it was difficult for him to continue to operate this camp. And so he was looking to figure out a different route.
And then my uncle called saying he was looking for buyers, and not to cue us or anything, just to let us know that the place we were living was potentially going to be sold. My dad was the one who said, hey, what if we bought the boys' camp? And I thought, oh, that's an interesting idea, but I'm planning to go back to an engineering career in Duluth in the spring, and we had only planned to be here for one winter.
We had this huge house in Grand Rapids, and it wasn't really home anymore because everybody was gone that we built it for. So we had just enough funds to help purchase this camp, and that was when we finally said, well, I think this is a good thing for us to do.
Yeah, it was his harebrained idea to buy the camp, and I went along with it, so here we are. Best decision ever, though.
We both decided together that it's time to do something different, and this has been in the family all these years, and we believe in her grandfather, my father's dream, and my mother. This is what they want to do, is work with kids in the woods. So the timing just happened to be just right, and everything fell into place.
You sit. I am Ashley Bredemus, and I am owner/director here at Birchwood Wilderness Camp, and I also am a writer, photographer, blogger at thecabinseason.com. So our property line is shared with the Boundary Waters, so there's nobody that way, nobody that way, just a neighbor that way. And then, yeah, the rest of our camp is this way. It's 66 acres. So this is our sauna. A lot of time spent in there. Last summer we had a staff member who always was lighting the sauna. Like, if you didn't know where he was in the sauna. And that sauna is called Dante's Inferno, and so his camp nickname is Dante. Everybody gets a camp nickname. Mine is Penny, his is Stride, and his is Uncle Dan. So.
My name's Daniel Charles Bredemus, and we're up on the Seagull River. which is at the end of the Gunflint Trail, which is a 60-mile dead-end road out of Grand Marais. And we're 2 miles from where we can park our car in the summer, and we have to come by boat. Canada's about 4 miles away.
So we're gonna go to the right of that little cabin over there, and then we'll go through the woods and up onto that big hill, which is our Campfire Rock, where we have campfires every Saturday night in the summer.
Well, the Campfire Rock that we use on the north end of the property was the place that my father first discovered before he purchased this place. He was bringing kids, before he owned a camp, up from Wausau, Wisconsin, that were troubled kids. His first stop, they'd leave from the landing and they'd have a little lunch spot. And he found that big rock and thought, this is a great place for lunch. It overlooks the river. And so he kind of fell in love with that little spot. And then, as I say, in '68, he purchased that piece of property and he started the first camp.
First time I was at the campfire with campers was probably in 2010 when I helped my dad build the water slide. That was the first time that I was actually part of the campfires here at the boys' camp.
So we have counselors and campers come up and we all circle around the fire here in the middle of this rock. And we share stories from trail and we sing songs and we yell and we scream and we play games.
The rest of time kind of melts away and you're just there with a campfire and friends, and it's truly like the best thing. It's my favorite part of camp and the program that we run here.
So my first experience, I was never a camper here. I came as a counselor back in 2016. One of my good friends from college, he was the program director at the time, and he invited me up being like, hey, come up, we are looking for guides and for counselors and I think you'd be a great fit. So I came up and learned a lot about myself and about this great place, and I kind of have been hooked ever since.
So Victor is my fiance. Actually, our 1-year anniversary of engagement is coming up on February 1st. He proposed to me on Romance Lake in the Boundary Waters.
I was so nervous. I barely could say anything. I was, will you marry me? And then, yeah, I was nervous. I knew she was going to say yes, but I was still nervous.
I was very surprised. So he did such a good job, and it was everything a girl could ever dream of, or well, I could ever dream of anyways, but yeah. Yeah, probably take some photos here. Hey, Arlo, come on. When I moved here just to spend a winter here with my dad, I had family that was, I hate to say, worried about my survival, but they had a lot of questions. And so I thought, you know what, I'll start a blog and I'll just, write about what it's like to live here. And then it just gained a lot of interest. Sharing that much of my life online, it may seem that I share a lot, but I have very strong boundaries around that. So just like with anybody's social media, they're showing you what they want you to see. So I feel like I'm not sharing much of my life because Arlo, my dog, is kind of I'm just her hair and makeup team, really. She's the star, so I'm pretty comfortable taking the back seat to her. Good job. Good girl. Micro-influencer. I kind of like that title. People really are bothered by the word influencer, but I think that's a really, it's a lot of responsibility, and I value that platform that I have. Now I'm working with brands like Coleman in a way that I feel aligned with. They're really trying to make the outdoors more inclusive and bring more awareness to environmental issues. And it really, at the core, the companies that I work with care about connecting people with the outdoors in hopes to better both of them. My blog has gone through several changes in direction. And what I really want to write about, and what my motto is rediscovering what it means to be an outdoors woman. My answer to redefining what it means to be an outdoors woman is, or outdoorsman, is your connection with the outdoors. That's really what I think it means to be a person of the outdoors, is the quality of your connection with nature. And you can do that by sitting on a dock, dangling your toes in the water. You can do that by scaling a mountain. You can do that by car camping. You can do that by coming to summer camp or a yoga retreat or gardening. There's so many different ways, and it's really personal. And I just want to invite more people, women in particular, to discover that for themselves. I think it can be confusing to people when they see I run a boys camp, but yet I have a blog about women in the outdoors, and those are really two groups, kids and women, that I really have a special spot in my heart for in helping get them in the outdoors. So, I mean, those are two sides of the same coin to me. But the cabin season, I'm hoping, what I'd like it to turn into is my year-round platform for connecting with women, and then in the summer it is a vehicle to get women here for wellness retreats or just getting more women here. Now watch your step, it's slippery. But this is the yoga deck slash arts and crafts space slash our outdoor dining space. We built this summer. It's this big platform in this boreal forest overlooking the Boundary Waters. So it's a really special and fun place for all in camp to use.
The yoga deck basically is Ashley's idea, and it came from her work with yoga and her training in yoga in Florida, where she lived. So we decided to build that deck, and with the idea that that deck can be multi-purpose for a lot of things. But and we did have one group here at the end of last summer, and they women, and they just had a fantastic time. They thought this was the coolest place in the world.
This is all still from our yoga retreat we had last year. A ton of drawings and messages. I mentioned a lot of projects that we work on in the winter. This is one of them, obviously. This deck is torn apart, we're rebuilding it. But this is the stage in the summer, where everybody performs their skits and we have a lot of fun. My dad and Victor are oftentimes outside working on maintenance projects or improvement projects.
Victor and I are adding a deck on the front of one of the older cabins, and we have to build a little landing. Now, we can't let winter stop us from some things, and unlike most places where you have to dig footings, well, we don't have to dig footings because you can't dig footings. So we scrape the snow away, and then, of course, when everything does melt, you have to re-level things. But so as long as it's not 20 below, we just keep marching forward.
He loves to build those things. He loves to dream and see those things. And he also loves to test those things. He's the big dreamer of our group, and he likes to push the limits of what we can do here.
So my dad is totally Peter Pan, and this is Neverland. And my mom, so my mom passed away in 2013 from breast and lung cancer. And she had been fighting cancer since I was like 5 years old. So most of my conscious life anyways, in my recollection, she was always this fighter that was, oh gosh, she like, what did I always say? She's like Snow White with an attitude, kind of. She's this fiery Snow White who loves animals. And that's where I get my love for animals, is from her. But she, you know, the cabin that we're in right now, she lived in when she was my age with my dad. And there's actually a great picture of her sitting on the front steps of this cabin that I recreated and then put side by side, which is kind of fun. So it's really special to be living in this cabin where she spent so much time. This is from my blog post that I wrote when the pandemic was really kicking up, and it's titled 7 Uncommon Cures for Cabin Fever. The escape friend is one person you've designated to be your safe zone when cabin fever is getting the best of you. Mine is my neighbor Cassidy at Voyager Canoe Outfitters.
It's really important for me personally to have a female up here because, you know, this area is predominantly male, so that's important for me, for sure.
Okay, and good email address to have on file.
I'm Cassidy. I'm the general manager, so I run day-to-day operations. I answer a lot of phone calls, like all day, every day. When Matt and I first moved up here, I think for the first 3 winters, we were on our own, so it was like very different for us. It was kind of like culture shock.
It is a remote lifestyle. It is unique. It is different. I think an example I use often is, you know, when you go to the hardware store, instead of getting 1 box of screws, you get 3, you know. So there's little things that you don't think about.
We got really into, you know, like snowshoeing, ice fishing, walking around is like one of our fun things to do. And then once they moved up, it was just like, oh my gosh, we have people, you know, like we can walk across and have dinner, which is like, seems simple, but it's a big deal, you know, like to sit and have a conversation over dinner and like just cook with your friends. And yeah, so it's really important for us now that we have it. I definitely don't ever want to live without it.
You know, when you say out loud that you're 55 miles or 60 miles from town, I think that scares a lot of people because you can't run to the grocery store, you can't run to the gas station. But using each other and the neighbors and the community and is kind of how we stay afloat.
People often ask what's the hardest thing about living up here, and so many people think that my answer would be not having the social life of a normal 28-year-old living in a city. I'm really well equipped to have this lifestyle. I'm super introverted and I like this lifestyle, but it is so nice to have some friends right across the river that want to go winter camping, that want to go hiking, that want to have a campfire when it's like 5 degrees outside. It's nice to have those built-in friends here.
I feel like at a young age, the woods kind of changes people. Like I see like people come back with more life and they kind of experience what the wilderness has to like offer them. I know wilderness means a lot of things to like a lot of different people, but the overall experience to me is you work hard and you get to see marvelous things that you'd never see back in your home. So I think those 2 things really kind of shine bright in people's eyes.
One of my dad's mottos, I guess, was lifelong skills. A kid can learn to play basketball and can play basketball maybe in high school, maybe make the team, but then, you know, there are not too many 50, 60-year-old men out there shooting hoops, might be, but you teach a kid how to canoe and backpack, and it's a lifelong skill that we can share with our children and our grandchildren.
You guys, this is a 10. I don't know, this is a nice fire. The reason you come to camp, and my dad talked a lot about life skills, and the reason why I think those life skills are so important is because of the things you learn about yourself through attaining those life skills. So at the girls' camp, sailing was my thing, right? And yeah, I learned how to tie a bowline that I use like on a daily basis here. But I also learned a lot of confidence in myself. And there's a lot of soft skills that you learn in the wilderness experience. So I think that's why you come to camp, is to learn so much about yourself and then connect with other people. You have lifelong friends when you go to camp. of the fun and the rain, and back of the mill is the wind and the rain and the Father's will. That's it. Thank you.
I'd like to see us grow, you know, as far as numbers of people that come in and out of the camp. But I want to see us grow and see like more diversity coming in and out of camp, which is a big thing for us.
That's one of my biggest goals within the next 5 years here, is to develop a nonprofit so that we can provide scholarships to BIPOC kids in particular.
I want to see, you know, kids from all sorts of backgrounds come and visit us and visit the woods. And I think that's a really important thing to do.
There's nobody in the camping business that I'm aware of that's made millions of dollars. It's a matter of, this is something I love and it's something I believe in, and it's worth preserving. And so that's, you know, that's why we do it.
I didn't expect to be here as long as I am, but this is definitely a place where I see myself being forever.
It's just one of those things that it seems like life pushes you into, and it was meant to be. It can be so quiet in the winter here sometimes. 1 second. Oh, that's my dad. Can you hear that drill?
Your dad's grinding something.
As we're talking about the quiet, and you can hear my dad drilling,